You did your thesis research, you ran the data analysis, and then you saw your hypotheses were not supported, or worse, your results actually contradicted your prediction and prior research. That is exactly the kind of moment that makes many students panic. Because they start thinking, if my findings are messy, unsupported, or unexpected, how am I supposed to defend this? Well, unsupported is not automatically useless, worthless, or meaningless. Sometimes unsupported and unexpected results have tremendous research value. So in this video, I will walk you through 7 smart ways to defend unexpected and unsupported results in your thesis defense. And I'll also give you example phrases and answers that you can actually use when the panel starts pushing you on your findings. First and most important, do not equate unsupported results with personal failure. There is absolutely no reason for that. Hypotheses that are not supported or a research model that does not empirically hold, these don't automatically translate to the researcher failed or the thesis is meaningless. Sure, in that case, the examiners can ask some critical questions about it, but the examiners can also ask critical challenging questions when all of your hypotheses are empirically supported. As an examiner, I can definitely ask you something like this. You know, all of your hypotheses turn out to be fully supported. Doesn't that mean the conceptualization of your study was too obvious? Everything is supported. Everything is in line with prior literature. What is really new in your research? What is its contribution? Such questions might be even more difficult to answer. So the fact that you have unsupported results is not in and of itself a sign that the study is weak or meaningless. It is simply one possible research outcome, and in some cases, it may even lead to more interesting discussion than fully supported results. So if you're asked about an unsupported hypothesis, no need to be embarrassed about it or apologize for it. No need to say, yeah, unfortunately, my results were bad. That already weakens you. A much stronger way to frame it is to say something like this. My hypotheses were not fully supported as expected, but that doesn't mean that the research was meaningless. It means the findings need to be carefully interpreted and critically reflected upon, which was exactly what I sought to do in my discussion. That is a stronger and more academic posture. Unsupported is not the same as meaningless. Second, state clearly what the results are. A pattern that I have noticed from quite some students and researchers, myself included sometimes, is that when we feel threatened or challenged, we often become vague. We begin to speak in a foggy and defensive manner. Maybe that's because we're subconsciously trying to hide something or trying to protect ourselves. But the result is that we appear vague, confusing, and weak. A much stronger response strategy for when we are being challenged on unsupported or unexpected results is to actually clearly state what my research found or what my results showed. Don't give people the impression that you are trying to hide something. You can't hide it anyway. It's all there in the written work. So instead of being evasive and vague, be clear, direct, and forthcoming. Say something like this. Indeed, the expected relationship between variable A and variable B was not supported by my data. Or, you're right, this finding was unexpected. I hypothesized a positive relationship between variable A and variable B, but the results actually showed a significant negative relationship. This is actually better. Even though my results were unexpected or unsupported, I am still being forthcoming, clear, and precise. That is what mature and competent researchers do. Number 3, offer grounded explanations, not excuses or dressed up findings and beautified results. Once we have clearly stated what our results actually were, the next step is to explain them. This is where things could get a little tricky. Some students offer weak, non-substantive excuses. Others try to make things sound nicer. They try to beautify and dress up their results, trying to make them sound more supportive than the results actually were. Such responses typically don't work in the context of a thesis defense because we're talking to examiners who likely have much knowledge and expertise on different topics in your field. So to truly explain the unexpected or unsupported results, we need to have something solid and grounded, and that is the challenge. But it is doable. You have time to prepare such explanations. You already knew that some of your hypotheses were not supported. If you have a model which did not empirically hold, you already knew which path was the problem. So before the thesis defense, we need to do some research in order to be able to offer grounded explanations for these unsupported or unexpected results. And how do we do that exactly? Let's move on to point number 4. Grounded explanations can come from several places. For example, look into how your sample differed from previous research. Was your sample perhaps smaller or more homogeneous or much more diverse? Maybe your sample was from a different sector or industry? Perhaps prior research was mostly conducted in North America, whereas your data were collected from samples in Europe or Asia, where cultural differences might explain your unexpected results. Was there anything unique with your data collection instruments? Maybe one of the scales you used contained quite a few reversed items, which could cause confusion. Or maybe there were items that were worded in a double negative phrasing, which could also cause a bit of confusion. Or maybe there were other methodological details that you can identify as a meaningful explanation for your results. In addition to research methodology, also look at theory. This is where I think a lot of potentially meaningful explanations lie. Research findings can be interpreted through different theoretical lenses. So highlight the theoretical complexities surrounding your research topic. If I hypothesize the relationship using this theoretical framework, yes, I would expect the relationship to go this direction. But if I were now to interpret the results using a different theoretical framework, then I could see how my actual results, even though unexpected, also make some sense through another theoretical lens. Maybe an additional predictor or outcome variable could explain my results. Perhaps this unexpected relationship could also be explained with an extra moderator or mediator variable. The fact is, there are so many relevant theoretical frameworks and variables, chances are you could always find something meaningful and applicable to help explain your unsupported or unexpected results. Another very useful thing to do is this. Go back to the studies which you have included in your literature review, especially the ones that also reported mixed, weak, or unexpected findings. How did those authors explain their results? What reasons did they offer? That can give you academically grounded language and possible interpretations that are meaningful and strong. Because these studies, since they are already in your literature review and they played a role in the conceptualization of your research, are probably already relevant. That's why they are a particularly useful source. And lastly, don't forget about Gen AI tools. I say this cautiously because you need to do this in a way that is in compliance with your university's rules and regulations on AI. But AI tools can help you brainstorm possible explanations, alternative theoretical interpretations, relevant mediator and moderator variables, etc. Of course, use AI tools responsibly, ethically, and critically. But they can indeed be very useful. So the key point is this: prepare your explanations for your unsupported or unexpected results beforehand. Because good explanations are rarely improvised. They are formulated in advance by going back to the data, the design, the theory, and the literature. Number 5, show what the study still contributes and connect it to future research. One mistake that some students make is that they already mentally write off their study as rather meaningless because of unsupported or unexpected results. But research contribution is not limited to only confirming predictions or expectations. A study can still contribute in different ways when findings are unexpected, mixed, or contradictory. If for nothing else, it points to interesting and important future research directions. So when you're asked about these unexpected or unsupported findings, frame your response in the direction of contribution and future research. You could say something like this: it is true that the study produced some unsupported and unexpected findings, but I would still argue that the results are meaningful because they suggest the relationship may be more complex and more context-specific than previously assumed. There may be additional variables or mechanisms involved. So even though the original expectation was not fully supported, the study still contributes by identifying important directions for future research, especially around boundary conditions and possible moderator variables. Number 6, remember that a graduation thesis is not judged only on research contribution, but also on learning value. This is a point students often forget under pressure. So far, we've been discussing research value when the study's findings are unsupported or unexpected. But in the context of writing a thesis and the thesis defense, there is something else important at play. For most students, especially at the bachelor's level, the thesis is not only a research product, it is also an assessment, a test of whether the student has achieved the learning objectives of the program. Formulating research questions, making methodological choices, collecting and analyzing data, drawing conclusions, and reflecting critically on research. So unsupported results do not automatically cancel the education and assessment value of the thesis. If you, as a student, can subtly and intelligently incorporate this aspect into your answer, that would be a strong point. Even though some of my findings were unexpected and not all hypotheses were supported, I would still argue that the thesis has value not only in terms of research contribution, but also because it demonstrates the full research process and the learning objectives this graduation project was designed to assess. Say something like that. It's a subtle but relevant point. Because in a thesis defense, in an educational setting, you are not only defending the research findings, you are also demonstrating your learning and your development as a student researcher. And that is something worth remembering. Number 7, use this clear 3-step answer structure in the defense. If we take everything we've talked about and put it together in a simple 3-step formula, it'll be something like this. State the result clearly, explain it carefully without overclaiming, and show the value. First, state the result clearly. Say exactly what happened. Don't hide the results. Don't be evasive. It's all there in the written work anyway, so be clear about it. Face it head on. Second, explain it carefully without overclaiming. Offer 1 or 2 grounded explanations. In point number 4, we talked about where these grounded explanations can come from. Do a bit of research before the defense. This isn't something that can be improvised. And third, show the value. Here, talk about the contributions, connect them to future research directions, and subtly mention the learning value too. Applying this formula, you could say something like this. It is true that the expected relationship between critical data literacy and perceived readiness for strategic decision-making was not supported in the way that I originally hypothesized. In fact, the findings pointed in a different direction than I expected based on the literature. One possible explanation is that participants with stronger critical data literacy may also be more aware of the complexity, ambiguity, and limitations involved in strategic decision-making, which could lead them to evaluate their own readiness more cautiously. A further theoretical lens that may be relevant here is the Dunning-Kruger effect, where individuals with stronger analytical skills sometimes assess themselves more critically, while those with lower skill levels may be overestimating their own capabilities. At the same time, I would of course be careful not to overstate this interpretation because these findings come from one particular sample and should be understood in light of the design and measurement choices of this study. Even so, I would still argue that the result is meaningful because it suggests that the relationship may be more complex than previously assumed. So although the original hypothesis was not supported, the study still contributes by identifying insightful directions for future research. And in the context of my graduation thesis research, I would also say that working through these unexpected findings was in and of itself a valuable learning process, really highlighting the importance and relevance of some of the key learning objectives. Because in this process, I had to interpret my results critically, reflect on the limitations of my study, and engage deeply with the theoretical complexity of my topic. It has been challenging, but truly rewarding. Now, like I said in point number 4, this is not an answer that can be improvised. The theoretical explanation for the unexpected results, the use of an additional theoretical lens like the Dunning-Kruger effect, this all requires research and preparation. That there were unexpected results from the research, we already had time prior to the defense to prepare an answer like this. And that's something we should do because it's very likely that examiners will pick on unsupported and unexpected results. In conclusion, and very simply put, this formula. I hope it's helpful and that you can use it well. As always, I invite you to leave your thoughts and comments down below. Please also check out my other videos on thesis defense and academic evaluation. I am sure you will find them interesting and useful. Thanks for watching this Ranywayz random video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.